Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series Season 5, Episode 4. And now I'm going to be covering the 2012 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which I'm not looking forward to doing because I didn't remember watching the show at the time. I didn't enjoy it. It was bad. But I'll do it again just because maybe it's not as bad as I remember. I hope so, anyways. I may structure this review a little differently where I just review it all at once, or I review it in different takes, but I review all the main matches all in one take and then the mid-card matches all in another take. Or I may just do it the way I've been doing it. I haven't fully decided yet. It depends on my mood. Because I'm also crunching on time to get this review up. But for the matches that I remember on the show, that we had two Elimination Chamber matches. One for the WWE title and one for the World Heavyweight title. We had a Divas title match on the show, which I don't think we had at the last one. So that's an improvement, I guess. And we also had an ambulance match on the show that I will talk about yeah, not that doesn't sound like that good of a show yet, mainly but I didn't really go over the code, so I can't really you can't really judge, but once you actually hear the show, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so it shows a video package talking about the Elimination Chamber, about how it's your final chance to main event WrestleMania and go in as the champion, and how two champions have to battle, and how the match can just break down at any time. I thought it was a pretty good video package, and it hyped up the match, kind of gave us some statistics about, how the champions don't have very good odds of winning, and your odds of winning aren't really good. So overall, it was good. Okay, so we have the actual show itself, and we had Jerry the King Lawler, Michael Cole, and Booker T on commentary. And the first match on the show, which I don't know why this was the first match on the show, was an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. WWE Champion CM Punk versus Kofi Kingston versus R-Truth versus Chris Jericho versus The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was accompanied ringside by Vicky Guerrero. Yeah, I don't get why this opened the show. This was kind of one of the many stupid things. Actually, I wouldn't really say the many stupid things, but one of the stupidest things about CM Punk's WWE title reign is that he always never got the main event slot. And it's one thing to not get the main event slot, but to be open in a pay-per-view, to have your WWE title match open a pay-per-view, that must show what they thought of CM Punk kind of holding the title. It was like he was holding the WWE title, but they didn't really treat him like he was a WWE champion. It was like he was an Intercontinental or United States champion. But, that's besides the point. The reason for this match is because CM Punk at Survivor Series had won the WWE Championship. He won it at Survivor Series 2011. And he was really being pushed. He actually had changed a lot from a year. He was meant to be in the leader of the new Nexus, to being the best in the world. He had won the WWE title at Money in the Bank. He had walked out with the company, which they had messed up, but that's a topic for a different time. But then eventually he won the title at Survivor Series, and then they really started pushing CM Punk. He was defeating guys like The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, and he was making himself well known as a credible WWE champion. It just didn't help that it didn't really seem like the company had a lot of faith in him. I think they had faith in him, but they didn't really seem like they helped CM Punk by having him not main event a lot of pay-per-views. A lot of his storylines didn't get the proper focus it deserved. So that was kind of the problem. But for the other guys, CM Punk had a history with a lot of guys in this match. Him and Kofi Kingston were both former tag team champions, so they kind of had a history in that regard. Him and R-Truth, like I've been talking about, had a history from their feud in 2009. And even going back to 2011 when him and The Miz, when R-Truth and The Miz were the tag team known as the Awesome Truth. CM Punk also had a history with Dolph Ziggler from their title match at the Royal Rumble, in the build up to that, and when CM Punk had a history with The Miz, like I said, because of Awesome Truth, and also because he had successfully defended the title against him in a TLC match, and they were just starting the feud between him and Chris Jericho. This was the lingering feud that was going on. But meanwhile, we had the other competitors. We had R-Truth, who had history with The Miz because they were once tag team partners, and The Miz had turned on R-Truth, and he wanted to get his hands on The Miz. The Miz, that was really all he had a history with in this match. Kofi Kingston really didn't have a lot of history with anybody in this match, really just Punk. He had a little bit of history with Dolph Ziggler when they've had their several matches for the Intercontinental and United States titles. And Chris Jericho but Chris Jericho was the main focus of this matchup. It was really the focus between Punk and Jericho's feud. And Chris Jericho had just come back to the WWE in 2012, and this was when he had started wearing the lit up jacket, which he doesn't wear anymore. And he actually had a problem with everybody in this match because they claimed they were ripping him off. Dolph Ziggler, being accompanied by a woman just like Chris Jericho was. R-Truth ripping off his "What Up" with "Shut Up." The Miz, I forget what he said The Miz did to rip him off. Kofi Kingston ripping him off all his athletic ability, and CM Punk ripping him off, saying that he was the best in the world when Jericho really believed that he was the best in the world. So Jericho wanted to get his hands on Punk, and Chris Jericho they all had a matchup on Raw, and Chris Jericho won the opportunity to come into this match last because he had won a six-pack challenge with all guys involved. So that kind of led it to this match, and then they had a debate on Raw where R-Truth said that he would trade Dolph Ziggler, and if he gets elected, he'll trade Dolph Ziggler and Vicky Guerrero for Hornswoggle and Spiders, which was weird. What else though? What else did CM? And then they all had matches on Raw. Chris Jericho defeated Kofi Kingston. R-Truth defeated Dolph Ziggler, and CM Punk defeated The Miz. So this kind of led us to this match. Not a lot of build up behind it, but a decent amount of build up. And CM Punk and Kofi Kingston ended up starting off this match, which I didn't expect to see them start off the match. I actually was expecting to see CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler at the time to start off this match. And CM Punk and Kofi Kingston chain wrestle each other for a little bit, and Kingston leaps over the top rope and lands on his feet onto the steel grating, and then they fight on the other side of the steel grating. CM Punk tries to backdrop Kingston, but Kingston lands on his feet, and then Kofi goes to do the same thing. CM Punk tries to land on his feet, but he lands on his hamstring bad, and Kingston goes to slingshot Punk into the chain link fence, but Punk reverses it and does it himself. He throws him into Jericho's pod, and he kind of sends a little bit of a message to Chris Jericho, and Kingston and Punk just continue to chain wrestle each other. Then the next entrant comes in, it's Dolph Ziggler, and he starts going off on everybody. He hits a drop kick on both Punk and Kingston, but eventually Kofi Kingston clotheslines him out of the ring, and he lands really bad on the floor. There was another spot where Dolph Ziggler does pull-ups using the chain link fence, and he lands and does like a leg drop to the back of CM Punk's head, which I thought looked really cool. And there was another spot where Kingston and Punk went to jump on Ziggler, but Ziggler moves out of the way, and they both took out each other, which I thought was kind of cool. And Punk tried to pin Kingston, but Kingston was able to kick out of it. And then the next entrant comes in, it's R-Truth, and he goes off on everybody. He hits a clothesline under Dolph Ziggler, and then he hits like a dive on the outside under Ziggler while he's on the chamber floor, which looked really cool. And then CM Punk starts attacking R-Truth, and he hits a suplex on R-Truth, and a scoop body slam and an elbow drop eliminates him. And then it's just down to the three guys. And then the Miz comes in, and he comes in like a house on fire because he wants to get back to the main event of WrestleMania. So he immediately goes right after Kofi Kingston, and he chokes him into the chain link fence. He throws him head first into the pod. He throws Punk head first into the pod. He beats the crap out of Dolph Ziggler, and he just looked like a man on a mission. I thought the Miz looked really strong in this match. And then Chris Jericho comes in, and CM Punk had the Intercontinental Vice on the Miz during this point, and it was down. And Jericho and Punk exchanged blows, but since Punk's been in the match longer, Jericho was able to get the upper hand on him, and he lays out Miz and Kingston. Then eventually Ziggler tries to steal a pinfall on him, but Jericho kicks out of it, hits a cold breaker on Ziggler, and eliminates him. And then Jericho tries to slingshot Punk, but Kingston lands on like Spider-Man and dives on him. And then Jericho tries to get away from Punk, and Punk attacks him while he's in the chamber, which I thought looked really cool. But then eventually Jericho's able to turn the tides and slams the chamber pod door into Punk, right into Punk's shoulder, and then that stuff with Kingston happens, and then Kingston tries to dive on Jericho, but Miz is able to pull him off, and he goes to hit he hits a superplex on Kingston. Then eventually Jericho gets Kingston into the walls of Jericho, and he puts him in the Lion Tamer version of it, which looked sick. And Kingston ends up tapping out, and Jericho continuously attacks Kingston, puts him in the walls, lets go, and then he throws Kingston out of the ring, throws him into the chain link fence, and just throws him right out of the Elimination Chamber. I thought this was great. And then CM Punk kicks Jericho on the head and knocks him right out of the chamber. He ends up taking the cameraman out, and I think he hit like the back of his head on like a spotlight. And referees and doctors are checking on him, and Jericho just isn't responding, so they say that Jericho can't continue, so he's eliminated from the matchup. I thought it was fine they eliminated Jericho the way they did, just because if you had Punk and Jericho it was still kind of too soon to have Punk and Jericho be kind of coming into contact with each other, so I like the way that they got Jericho out of this matchup, and it makes it look like a way that CM Punk really didn't eliminate him. Then Miz ambushes Punk from behind, and Punk hits a kick to the head on Miz. Miz kicks out, then Punk goes for a springboard clothesline, but Miz catches him into a skull crushing finale, covers Punk, but Punk kicks out, and then he attacks Punk in the corner, goes to charge at him, lands headfirst into the pod, and Punk then hits a go-to-sleep on Miz and covers him and eliminates him, and he successfully retains the WWE title. And overall, I thought this match was really good. I really enjoyed it, and it was just a really enjoyable match. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the aftermath of this match. So this match really was the launching point that really escalated the Chris Jericho CM Punk feud. Because it was always lingering, but this match kind of helped set that off in the direction. Because Chris Jericho, the night afterwards, would go on to win a Battle Royal to be able to face Punk for the title. And then they started the best in the world versus the best in the world, but then they turned it into Punk's past, where his father was an alcoholic and his sister was like a drug addict. And CM Punk would go on to beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, and then they would have one more match at Extreme Rules where CM Punk would win. And it was actually a great feud, no problems with it at all. The other guys, though, really didn't go much anywhere. They were just thrown into a lame tag match at Mania, I believe. And R-Truth and Kofi Kingston would be on the same team. And The Miz and Dolph Ziggler would also be on the opposing team facing them. So nobody really benefited from this match other than Punk and Jericho. Alright, so let me kind of explain. I guess I'll mention the build up to the Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight title. Now, something I haven't mentioned about this pay-per-view was this was the first pay-per-view since there was no brand split. Raw and SmackDown had become weren't separate brands anymore. They were all the superstars can just kind of float over wherever they wanted. Last year's Elimination Chamber was the last pay-per-view, was the last Elimination Chamber during the brand split, at least the first one anyways. So the next thing that happens, before I say that, let me actually explain the build-up to the World Title Elimination Chamber match. So I don't remember, I think I can remember who was in it. It was between Daniel Bryan, Big Show, the Great Khali, Wade Barrett, Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes, and a guy I'll mention in a second. It was supposed to be Randy Orton, though. So what happened, reason this match was happening was because Daniel Bryan had cashed in the Money in the Bank contract on the Big Show and successfully won the World Heavyweight Championship. He said he was going to do it at WrestleMania 28, but the WWE decided, fuck it, we're going to have him do it now. I don't know why, but they did. And Daniel Bryan kind of grew that new heel, cookie-cutter chicken shit heel personality where he hated vegans. And I didn't really mind it too much. I just thought Daniel Bryan's always been better suited as a babyface, but he was actually killing it as a heel too. But it was just kind of a weird time he was a heel, because everyone wanted to cheer Daniel Bryan, so it was weird. Because this is kind of around the time in 2011 when the crowd was getting a little bit more smoky. They were always kind of smoky, but I'd say in 2011 it became more noticeable. Um, but Daniel Bryan successfully defended his World Heavyweight title in a steel cage match, and Teddy Londa decided to throw these guys together. Originally, Mark Henry was supposed to be in this match, but he had gotten suspended. So they decided to have. I believe the Great Khali replaced Mark Henry in the Elimination Chamber. Um, and they were building it up by having a ton of matches with each other. Daniel Bryan faced Big Show in a match, and Big Show and Daniel Bryan had a feud going on because, Daniel Bryan had taken the World Heavyweight Championship from the Big Show, and then Big Show had ran over Daniel Bryan's girlfriend at the time, AJ Lee, and this kind of just escalated the feud. Randy Orton also had at the time was just kind of getting off a feud with Wade Barrett because Wade Barrett had taken him out of action. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton had a history from their days in Legacy and the feud they had in 2011. Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett had a history from their match at SummerSlam 2011, and their days in the Nexus together. The Great Khali really was just kind of in the match. But I guess you could say he had a history with Big Show from 2008, and that was kind of really it. But there was a caveat. So on Raw, Randy Orton and Big Show had a match together, and Daniel Bryan attacked Randy Orton and Big Show during the match. He had hit Randy Orton in the back of the head with the World Heavyweight Championship. So what happened was this ended up giving Randy Orton a concussion, so he was not able to compete in this match. So they had to find a replacement. So Teddy Long threw together a wild card battle royal, and whoever had won would take Randy Orton's spot. And who won? None other than Santino Marella. This was at the time when they were really behind pushing Santino Marella, and I personally never hated Santino Marella. I just want to make that clear. I thought his stuff I just found him better. I just didn't think his comedy as a babyface was funny. His comedy stuff as a heel was absolutely hilarious. When he was the best Intercontinental Champion of all the times, and getting eliminated in 1 second in the Royal Rumble match, and him going, "I wasn't ready. I'm going back in," and the stuff he was doing with the honka meter, when he was making fun of Rey Mysterio and saying, "You're either incredibly ugly or you're the Batman." Like, Santino was funny. Face Santino just was kind of not funny, mainly too because this was in the PG WWE, so it made it especially not funny, and it was just weird. I think Santino as a heel purposely wasn't trying to be funny. The stuff even he was doing with the Condemned with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and him pretending to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think Santino wasn't trying to be funny at all. He was actually trying to be kind of serious. This was the WWE trying to make him funny, so it didn't work. And he's training, and the whole night he's gonna do this. So I remember this watching it back. The whole night they do a parody of Rocky Balboa where Santino drinks raw eggs to help train him, and he doesn't like them. So they're gonna do this the whole night, and doing this, he actually has Eugene's old theme song. While he's doing it, it would make more sense if he did Rocky Balboa, but maybe the WWE couldn't do that. But yeah, this was just a really weird, and it wasn't funny. Like I said, Santino was not funny at this time. Okay, so next it shows a video package for John Cena. Now he's going to be wrestling on the show, but they didn't use it to build up the match he's wrestling on the show. They used it to build up his match with The Rock at WrestleMania 28. Because they already had that match penciled in. It had been a year build-up, and they wanted to focus on the John Cena. I'm not going to talk about too much about the build-up to John Cena versus The Rock because it's not the show where they're building it up. I am going to talk about that in a different season. I will talk about this video package, however, though. So it shows John Cena at a gym in Boston. Well, not Boston, but in Massachusetts. It's called Hard Knobs Gym, and it's where him and his friend used to work out together, and John Cena wanted to use it to help train younger talent. So we see this younger talent, and it's kind of interesting watching this back now because back when I watched this the first time, I didn't know any of these younger talent, and now I know like all of them. Um, it's interesting to see too where these younger talent have gone. But John Cena would train with these younger talent, help them get better. He trained with tell me if these names sound familiar. Seth Rollins, obviously he's a big main event player now. Um, Xavier Woods, obviously he's not only a main event player, but he's gone on to do tremendous things. Big E, um, I think we saw Derek Bateman, and even though he didn't really go as far as he wanted to in WWE, he went on to have a pretty good career in TNA. Um, we also saw Leaki, who went on to become a huge main event player, not as Leaki. Um, and yeah, well, we will talk about Leaki later on in the next episode, and Seth Rollins in the next episode. Um, who else did we see in here? We saw Camacho, who is nothing now. um, but pretty much John Cena says he wants to train these younger talents. He wants to train them to be the best. And he says that at the end of the day, you guys shouldn't think that you know more than everybody else. You should come to me for advice. Because at the end of the day, you all are just fans of this business. And that's what you should be. And John Cena says he's not the type of guy where you can't look him in the eye and, talk to him. He says that you can talk to me. I don't care. And, they talk about how John Cena has passion and dedication for the business. And John Cena says that you should fight to be the best. Like you always do. That's why you should be in the WWE. And then he said that, I'm not like The Rock where I work out with my headphones in and with a torn up shirt. But he may look like he's in shape, but we're going to wait to see after that second bell wins at WrestleMania whether he's going to be having his hand raised at the victor or on his back. So we'll wait and see at April 1st at WrestleMania. And then that was it. Overall, I thought it was a good video package, a good way to build up the Rock John Cena match, so it was good in that aspect. And it was, I think I just like it better watching it back now, just to kind of see some of these superstars that were training with John Cena, where they ended up. Some of them pissed me off, like Derek Bateman, and others make me happy, like Big E, Xavier Woods, Seth Rollins, and Leaki. So, and I think I saw Dean Ambrose in there as well, and obviously he went on to have a good career as well. Okay, so next match was a Divas Championship match. Divas Champion Beth Phoenix versus Tamina Snuka. There was like no real storyline going into this match. Beth Phoenix had won the Divas title at Hell in a Cell, and she had been a dominant champion, defending it against all comers. However, Tamina Snuka was a dominant diva at the time as well. She was taking out everybody, and she had Beth Phoenix's number throughout, the whole feud, and that was kind of the gist of the feud. Really not much of a feud. This was at a bad time in the Divas division. Like I mentioned, the Divas division was in a bad state in 2010 and in 2011. Well, this was worse. At the time, Diva matches were like 2 minutes long, and they were like legitimately piss break matches. Like they were like they were 2 minute piss break matches is what they were. That's just kind of what the Divas division were. It does suck, but that's just the truth. This was at the time when the Divas division was not in a good spot, and they had good wrestlers in there. It's just, they didn't really treat the Divas with the respect that they deserved. So, we have the actual match itself, though. The match itself was solid. I think I liked it better at the time because it was actually a legitimate match in the Divas division at the time for once. Because, like I said, on Raws and SmackDowns, you'd see like 2 minute Divas matches, and then that's it. Here was not the case. It was at least a match, and I was happy about that at the time. But looking back at it now that we've actually had some actual Divas matches, and so this match has just ended up solid. But you got to remember, at the time frame, I probably thought this match was good because we never really got actual Divas matches at the time. But Beth Phoenix tells Tamina Snuka to get out of the ring, and Tamina refuses. Tamina dominates the first half of the match, and then she goes to go off the top rope, and Beth Phoenix pushes her, and she lands back first and on the apron, then onto the floor. And Beth Phoenix dominates the matchup. She works over the back of Tamina Snuka. Eventually, Tamina hits the Samoan drop. It really didn't look like a Samoan drop. It looked like she just kind of picked her up and fell. So, um, and then she goes for the Superfly splash, but Beth Phoenix prevents her from doing it, and she hits a superplex off the top rope. But she can't capitalize, and Tamina Snuka starts to hit her comeback. She hits a super kick on Beth Phoenix, then it hits the Superfly splash, covers her, and Beth Phoenix kicks out, which was nice. Um, and she goes for it again. Beth Phoenix rolls out of the ring, and Tamina Snuka puts her back in. Phoenix sends her face first into the turnbuckle, and Beth Phoenix hits the glam slam, covers her, and gets the victory and retains her Divas title. And that was really the match. The aftermath really wasn't a lot of aftermath coming out of this match. Tamina Snuka just kind of went to have an inconsequential role. She's still assigned to this company to this day. And Beth Phoenix ended up losing the Divas title just on a random episode of Raw. And then she ended up retiring later on that year. And we haven't seen her in a wrestling capacity since then. So no one really came out of the match looking good. And like I said, just a bad time in the Divas division. Okay, so next, Santino Marella's backstage again, and he is doing the Rocky Balboa scene where he punches the meat, um, while it's like it's one of those gym punching bags, and it hits him in the face, and he goes, "You think you're funny, Mister Meat?" And then he hits it with a cobra. It was bad, and it's just terrible. Like I said, Santino's stuff as a face was not funny at all. Then Josh Matthews is backstage and said that he's unable to get a word from Chris Jericho because just because he's injured. So he says he hopes to get an update on Chris Jericho soon enough. And then that was it. Okay, so next, John Laurinaitis and David Otunga come out. And at the time, John Laurinaitis was the executive vice president of talent relations and the interim general manager of Raw. And David Otunga was his legal counsel. Now, he talked like that because that's how John Laurinaitis talks, because he got kicked in the throat while he was in Japan. I think they said Japan, but I forget. And he wants to be the permanent general manager of both Raw and SmackDown because he feels like Teddy Long doesn't fit to be running SmackDown, so he brought some superstars along to give their thoughts on Teddy Long's skills or lack thereof. So first, Alberto Del Rio comes out, and Alberto Del Rio was out due to a groin injury at the time, so they just wanted to get him on the show. So he comes out and says that Teddy Long plays favorites, and that he'd rather hang out with girls than do his actual job, and he's actually corrupt. And he says that if anybody should be the permanent general manager of Raw and SmackDown, it should be John Laurinaitis. And then Mark Henry comes out, and he says that Teddy Long's a bully because he physically assaulted him. And him being the good guy that he is, fell for it. And he says that he suspended me and took away my chance to win the World Heavyweight Championship tonight. I thought Mark Henry was awesome here. And then Christian comes out, and Christian had been out due to injury. But he comes out and he says that nobody knows Teddy Long better than he does, and that Teddy Long, he said that he would be competing for the World Heavyweight Championship tonight if it wasn't for Teddy Long, because unlike Randy Orton's fake concussion, his injuries were actually legitimate, because Sheamus broke his ankle and the Big Show broke his neck by chokeslamming him. So he says that he wants Teddy Long removed from the general manager's position and wants John Laurinaitis to take over. And afterwards, David Otunga wants to take a picture, and Mark Henry doesn't want to, but he does, and they pose for pictures together. And this segment was an absolute waste of time. There was no reason for this segment. It was stupid. It was a waste of time. Obviously, they were just trying to push that whole general manager versus general manager angle because there was no more brand split, so there was no need to have a general manager on Raw and SmackDown. But there was no reason for this. It was a waste of time. It was obviously just a kill time, and nobody cared about it. So, yeah. But it was nice to see Mark Henry. And I thought like him wanted not refusing to take the picture was pretty funny. And obviously, John Laurinaitis set these guys up to come out here and say all this stuff. They probably legitimately felt that way storyline wise. But obviously, John Laurinaitis set them up. He knew they were going to be there, and he set this up to make Teddy Long look like a bad general manager. Um, and also to you know, I never really cared for John Laurinaitis. I always thought it's a tool, and he's just that. He's a tool. So, yeah, that's just what I think. Okay, so we get the final training video for Santino Marella, and that now he's walking outside like he's Rocky Balboa, and he does the whole scene where he walks up the steps and holds his hand up and does his trombone playing thing, and it wasn't funny. It was not funny. He was even wearing the clothes like Rocky Balboa too, but this just wasn't funny. And they were obviously trying to hype him up as a legitimate contender for the World Heavyweight title, which I don't think really accomplished that goal. Okay, next, Big Show gets interviewed, and Josh Matthews asks him after you since your WrestleMania record isn't the greatest, is it imperative that you have to win the World Heavyweight title and walk into WrestleMania? And Big Show said, he's done everything there is to do in wrestling. He's wrestled some of the biggest names. He's held every major championship. But yeah, his immortality record at WrestleMania is bad. He doesn't have a good WrestleMania record. So he says that tonight all he's thinking about is winning tonight and becoming the new World Heavyweight Champion. So overall, I thought he cut an okay promo. Okay, so then we had the next match. It was an Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight Championship. World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Bryan versus Cody Rhodes versus Wade Barrett versus Big Show versus the Great Khali versus Santino Marella. And this match, shit. This match was bad. Not as bad as December to December 2006 Elimination Chamber match, but it was pretty damn close. So let me just talk about it. When Santino comes out, I was kind of hoping he was going to get shoved by somebody and they would take his spot in the chamber, but that didn't happen. He ended up just going into the match, which sucked. And Wade Barrett and Big Show start off the match. And the entire time, Big Show's staring down Daniel Bryan because he wants to get his hands on Daniel Bryan. But Wade Barrett's actually taking the fight to Big Show. He's taking him out by the knees. He throws him headfirst to the chain link fence. And he works over the leg of the Big Show. He pretty much grounds the Big Show throughout the whole matchup. But then Big Show starts to make a comeback. He throws him into a chain link fence. He throws him into Cody Rhodes' pod, and he chops the Wade Barrett, and the whole time, Big Show staring down Daniel Bryan, and then he throws him into the chain link fence some more, suplexes him he suplexes him into the ring, and Barrett's able to kick out of it, and then the next guy comes out. It's Cody Rhodes. And Cody Rhodes doesn't want to face the Big Show, but he gets in there anyways, and Big Show pretty much kicks his ass. And he throws Cody Rhodes into the chain link fence. He goes to charge at him. Cody Rhodes moves out of the way, and Barrett goes to go after him, but Big Show knocks him down. And then Cody Rhodes goes off the top turnbuckle, but Big Show throws him off into the chain link fence, which was a cool spot. And what else? Big Show double clotheslines both guys on the outside. He throws them both into the chain link fence. And then the next guy comes in. It's Santino Marella. And he hits his typical arm drag, punches, and diving headbutt. And then he comes face to face with the Big Show. And Big Show just completely takes him out with a chop. And then he continues to go after Barrett and Cody Rhodes. Eventually, Cody Rhodes and Barrett DDT him onto the steel grating of the floor. And then Cody Rhodes and Barrett start fighting with each other. Barrett clotheslines him out of the ring, throws him into the chain link fence, throws him back first into the steel post. And then Cody Rhodes hits a moonsault on the Barrett. Barrett's able to kick out of it, though. And then Cody Rhodes continues to attack Santino Marella and Barrett. And he mouths off to the Great Khali. And then the next guy comes out. It's the Great Khali, and he hits a chop on Barrett. He clotheslines Cody Rhodes. He hits the Punjabi plunge on him. Then he has a face-off with the Big Show, and Big Show hits a spear and covers him and eliminates the Great Khali. And that was the only move that the Great Khali took in this match. It was so stupid. His role in this match was pretty much non-existent. There was no reason for the Great Khali to be in this match. He could have easily found a different replacement. So then everybody's laid out. So Big Show wants to get his hands on Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan can't come into the matchup because he has to wait 5 minutes. So Daniel Bryan's taunting the Big Show. And obviously this was when Daniel Bryan was that cocky heel, so it worked. And then Big Show goes up to the top turnbuckle, up to Bryan's pod. He tries to pull Bryan in, but he can't do it. So then he rips off the chains off Bryan's chamber. He creates a hole for himself, and he breaks his way into the pod. This looked like crap. This didn't look believable, and it was just stupid. But Big Show beats the crap out of Bryan. They're both trapped in his pod. And I did like that they did tell the story about Big Show wanting to get his hand on Bryan and finally doing so. So I did like that aspect. And then the pod opens, so Daniel Bryan escapes, but then Big Show throws him through the pod. He throws him back into the ring, and he hits a wicked chokeslam onto Daniel Bryan. But then Wade Barrett attacks Big Show from behind, hits a big boot on him, and hits a big boot while he's trapped into the ropes. And then Cody Rhodes hits a disaster kick on Big Show while he's on the chamber. And then Barrett hits an elbow drop on Big Show, and Cody Rhodes covers him and eliminates him. And this made Rhodes look really good. He just eliminated the Big Show. He's all celebrating about it. And then Santino Marella comes in and beats him with a roll-up and just kind of eliminates everything that Cody Rhodes just did. And kind of buries Cody Rhodes a little bit. Makes him look like crap. So I get what they were trying to tell, though, that Cody Rhodes got too cocky and he got caught. But still, it was just stupid. And then afterwards, he lays out Santino Marella with crossroads. And Barrett tries to cover him, but Santino Marella kicks out. And Barrett then traps Santino into the chain link fences of the chamber and big boots him while he's there. And then him and Bryan just fight it out. Barrett hangs up Bryan balls first on the rope and hits a clothesline while he's on the ropes. He power bombs him into the chamber, and then he throws him into one of the pods, and he closes the pod door and kind of chokes him with it, and then he closes it and right into his head, which looked really cool. And then Santino Marella tries to get a roll up on Barrett, but Barrett's not having that. And then Barrett beats up Santino Marella some more, throws him into the pod, and then Bryan hits a flying knee off the top rope onto Barrett, and he goes for and Bryan goes to attack him and hit a diving headbutt on, but Barrett counters. Barrett goes for the wasteland. Bryan fights out of it, and then Santino gets involved, and Barrett fights him off, and then Barrett goes for the elbow drop on Santino, but Santino moves out of the way, and then Bryan hits a diving headbutt on Barrett, and then Santino covers Barrett and eliminates him. Yeah, so you pretty much just buried Cody Rhodes and Wade Barrett by having him get eliminated by a jobber in Santino. That's pretty much what he was. And it was really weird to see Barrett and Bryan go at it because they were two heels and they were trying to position Bryan, and Bryan came off as the babyface in that altercation. And I don't think that was a good idea because clearly were trying to establish Daniel Bryan as a heel, but he looked like the babyface there. So I feel like that shouldn't have happened. I feel like you should have not have had that happen. I feel like you shouldn't have even had that altercation. But Barrett did last a while, but it's like still, he got eliminated by Santino. So then it's just down to Santino and Bryan, and Bryan's laughing at him, saying, thank God that he's lasted with Santino, but Santino punches him in the face, but then Bryan hits a running drop kick in the corner. He beats the crap out of Santino, hits a bunch of kicks on him, and Santino's hulking up from him, but then Bryan kicks him right in the back of the head, and then he goes for the diving headbutt. Santino moves out of the way, and then Santino hits a Cobra. Yes, the World Heavyweight Champion took a Cobra from Santino. Wow. At least Bryan kicked out, because he did. I get the story they were trying to tell. They were trying to make Santino feel like the underdog and that he could overcome the odds but I just didn't think it worked. I just didn't like it. And then Bryan locks Santino into the LaBelle lock and makes Santino Marella tap out, so he retains his World Heavyweight Championship. And this match was just trash. Had a couple of good spots, like the altercation between Bryan and Bayley, but it just didn't really work just because they were both supposed to be heels, and they were trying to position Bryan on the babyface side, so that was just weird, and then he kind of like flipped back to the heel. The Great Khali being in this match and just taking one move. Why? Big Show whipping through the pod looked like crap, and Santino Marella, the story they were trying to tell with him, I just didn't really care for. So I don't hate Santino either. I just think the stuff they gave him when he was a babyface was just terrible. Like I said, liked him when he was a heel, when he was talking about the greatest Intercontinental Champions of all the times and stuff, and doing the honky meter and stuff. That was great. Here, not so much. But then afterwards, Sheamus comes out. And Sheamus that year in 2012 had won the Royal Rumble match, so he could pick which champion he wanted to face. And obviously this showed the altercation that he was going to face Bryan because Punk and Jericho were going off to do their own thing at Mania. So he lays out Daniel Bryan with the counter cross and pretty much implies that he's going after Daniel Bryan's world title. He pretty much makes that indication here. And then that was it. Overall, I thought this was good. The Sheamus stuff, was a good way to set up that match at Mania. And obviously the aftermath of this match, Cody Rhodes and Big Show went on to have their own match at Mania for the Intercontinental title, and Big Show would win it, and then Big Show would drop it a month later to Cody Rhodes back at Extreme Rules. So I thought they did a good job because that Cody Rhodes eliminated him and everything. And then the Great Khali and Santino Marella went on to have that be a part of that tag match that was unneeded. Daniel Bryan and Sheamus went on to have a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania, where Sheamus would beat him in 18 seconds, and then they would have a great match at Extreme Rules. And then, Daniel Bryan would get launched because in this match, Daniel Bryan started his yes chance, so they had gotten over at WrestleMania, and then Wade Barrett got injured, so he was not able to compete at WrestleMania. Where he would have gone, I don't know, but Wade Barrett was injured, so he wasn't able to wrestle at WrestleMania, and he came back later on that year as a mid-coder. So nobody really benefited from this match, maybe except Daniel Bryan and maybe Cody Rhodes and Big Show, short term. Obviously now, I just kind of was thinking there's only one wrestler that's really still active in the ring, and that's the Big Show. Barrett's gone. The Great Khali is out of the company. Santino Marella's retired. Daniel Bryan's retired, but he's the GM of SmackDown. And Cody Rhodes is released in TNA, so it's like, kind of pisses me off watching back this match and thinking that only one guy can still wrestle. And he's wrestling in the company, and the others are not wrestlers really anymore, or wrestling in other places. So that just kind of pisses me off because this match really didn't benefit anybody in long-term aspect. Okay, so next, Hornswoggle's backstage, and he's eating cheese, and he's like, "Oh, I love cheese." So then he sees this big pile of cheese, and he asks, "Cut the cheese." And he looks at Natalya, and this was at the time when Natalya had the folding gimmick, which I don't know why they gave her that gimmick. That just kind of showed what they had thought of Natalya. And she's like, "I swear it wasn't me." So he's like, "Cut the cheese," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And her stomach starts grumbling, and then she votes and runs off. Yeah, it was bad. And then Justin Gabriel comes up, and they start talking, and Hornswoggle lists all the cheese he's eating, and then we see Jack Swagger and Vicky Guerrero come up, and he says cottage cheese, and they think that they're insulting Vicky Guerrero. So Swagger slaps, he was wearing like a cheese hat, and he slaps it off Hornswoggle's head, and Gabriel tells him to relax, and they are about to get into a fight. And Teddy Long comes up and says that you guys aren't going to ruin people's appetite, so you guys can settle this in the ring. So then they leave, and Jack Swagger says maybe those other guys are right. Maybe there should be only be one man running both Raw and SmackDown. And Teddy Long's like, one man. You know, I like the sound of that idea, and that man should be me. Holla. And then they leave, and then Teddy Long comes up and says that Jack Swagger's match is next, and it's going to be for his United States title. And that was it. So, it was lame. Alright, so next we had the United States Championship match. United States Champion Jack Swagger versus Justin Gabriel with Hornswoggle inside. This match was a SmackDown match at its best, but it wasn't bad. It was just not a pay-per-view quality match. It was a thrown-together match, so why should I care about it? But, Swagger dominates the first half of it. He, hits a Swagger bomb on him, and, then eventually Gabriel makes a comeback. He hits a crossbody, and he hits a dive on the outside. He hits a standing sea fire, and then eventually Swagger, racks his ankle up against the post, and then he gets Gabriel in the ankle lock and picks up the victory, and because Gabriel taps out, and then that was it. What a waste of talent they did with Justin Gabriel. Like, he was not great, but he was, I thought, good. You know, he was a good high flyer. He definitely could have been a good mid-card champion, whether it was Intercontinental or United States, so they just didn't utilize him properly. He was definitely better than Jack Swagger, so yeah, whatever. The aftermath is Swagger went on to be in a lame-ass match at Mania. They had built up that Team Teddy versus Team Johnny match, and a lot of the superstars that were on the show went to be in that match. And Justin Gabriel, I don't even know if he even ended up on WrestleMania that year, but he was released shortly afterwards, and Swagger to this day is in a jobber role. Alright, so then we had the main event. It was an ambulance match, John Cena versus Kane. I don't even know where to begin with the storyline with this match. So obviously, they were trying to gear up John Cena with his match with The Rock, and I think they were finally acknowledging the fact that the fans, John Cena had a love-hate relationship with the fans, and the WWE was trying to gear him up to say that you need to kind of reach into this darker side of John Cena. You need to embrace the hate. They tried to have Roddy Piper do it when he was on Piper's Pit. Cena wouldn't do it. So then they brought this storyline in because Kane had been gone off TV for a while, and he had come back and remasked, and he had attacked Cena twice, and we didn't really know why he had attacked John Cena. And we found out that he wanted John Cena to embrace the hate, that everybody has some sort of hate, you know. Everybody hates their boss, everybody hates the people they work with, and my goal was to get you to embrace the hate. So Kane did everything he could, you know, and he targeted John Cena's friend, Zack Ryder. He injured him in the parking lot and pretty much cost Zack Ryder his United States Championship, and then he beat up Zack Ryder in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which made Cena mad, and he has that look, you know, where he has that mean look where people thought he was going to turn heel. Then Cena and Kane had a match at the Royal Rumble. It led to a no contest where they brought out of the ring, and then Kane beat the crap out of Zack Ryder and beat the crap out of Cena. So then John Laurinaitis had made an ambulance match to finally settle this once and for all. And the final episode of Raw, Zack Ryder was there, and Cena told Zack Ryder to stay in his locker room so Kane couldn't go after him. So then Kane and Cena ended up brawling, and Kane tried to kidnap Zack Ryder's girlfriend Eve, but he failed, and then Eve ended up kissing John Cena, and of course he got caught by Zack Ryder, and then Cena tried to apologize in the ring to Zack Ryder, and it talks about how he's not going to embrace the hate. This is what Kane wanted. He wanted everybody to hate me, but I'm still going to remain who I am. And then Zack Ryder had come out, was talking crap to Cena, and is like, why would you do that, John? Why would you take it? And then Zack Ryder, who's all injured and in a wheelchair, tells Cena that he was never his friend, and slaps Cena in the face. And Zack Ryder then scurries off, and then Kane says that, that he stole the love of his only friend. He stole the true love of his only friend, and he says that I thought I was sick, but that's just sick. And then he says that John Cena has truly embraced the hate and that he feeds off hate, and that this is going to be that an elimination chamber. It's going to be the last time people see you compete until WrestleMania. Um, and when he puts him in the ambulance and permanently disfigures John Cena. Then Cena went to respond, but then Kane pushed Zack Ryder off the stage in his wheelchair. And that kind of led us to this match. Yeah, it was a bad storyline for Cena. And this match was bad. Why this match main evented the show, I don't know. If any match should have main evented the show, it should have been the WWE and an Elimination Chamber match, because it's the title match. That match usually main events. Usually. And, I'm not saying the title always needs the main events, but this case was one of those things. Like, this match blew. So Cena and Kane set off. They brawl around for a while. And Cena throws Kane into the barricade a couple of times. Kane attacks Cena. He hits him with a stretcher that was in the ambulance. And then Cena grabs a backboard and hits Kane in the back with it. And they brawl to the ring. Kane goes to Irish whip Cena into the steps, but Cena reverses it and Irish whips Kane into the steps. And then Kane hits a big right hand on Cena, and he hits a sidewalk slam on him, dominates the matchup for a little bit, goes for a flying clothesline, but Cena counters with a drop kick. And then eventually Cena hits his 4 moves of doom. He doesn't hit one of the shoulder blocks. I don't know why. And he goes for the AA on Kane, but then Kane smothers Cena with a chokehold. I don't even know what it's called, but and he puts Cena out, and he realizes that Cena's just dead weight, so he grabs a wheelchair and he wheels Cena there, and then Cena tries to fight out of it, but then Kane gets the move on him again, but this time Cena's able to power out of it, and then he beats the crap out of Kane, throws him into the ambulance, hits him with the wheelchair, and Kane smashes his face off the ambulance. Then he puts Kane on the ambulance, wheels him into a table, and then Kane hits Cena with some sort of equipment, then he hits him in the back with a laptop, and they fight into the crowd, and Cena pretty much kicks his ass, and he grabs a microphone, and then he says, "What's this shot, Booker?" and hits Kane off the head with the microphone, and then he asks Booker, "Does that get me into your Fave 5, Booker?" It was pretty lame. And then Cena hits him off the head with a television with an announcer's table monitor, and then he hits him off Kane off the head with the steel steps twice, and he sets up the steel steps like he's going to AA Kane through the table, and he goes to do just that, but then Kane counters with a choke slam through the announcer's table, and then Kane stretches Cena over to the ambulance, but Cena just is able to, because you have to win your match by putting your opponent in the ambulance, Cena's just able to stay alive, and he beats the crap out of Kane. He slams his head into a door that was on the ambulance, and then he Irish whips Kane into the ambulance driver's door itself. They go on top of the ambulance, and then Kane goes to chokeslam Cena off the top. And Cena counters and AAs Kane off the ambulance and puts Kane into the ambulance and wins. That was the match. The match was lame. This match buried Kane. And the storyline buried Zack Ryder. So pretty much this was kind of 2 victims of John Cena's reign of terror. Because Kane had just come back remasked, and then he pretty much was buried, lost this match with Cena, and got his ass kicked, and was buried, and then pretty much Kane wasn't the same after this match. You remasked Kane, and then he pretty much just kind of went out and jobbed out to Cena. And Zack Ryder had come up, he had just won the U.S. title, he'd gotten himself over, and Cena pretty much buried him too because of the storyline. And then the aftermath of this was Kane would be off TV for a week, and then he would go on to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and thankfully won. And then Cena would go on to face The Rock and lose. So, yeah, they benefited okay, but it's still, I feel like Kane, because of this, wasn't the same afterwards. Because afterwards he was just kind of floating around on the show. Before that, he would just remask. He was unstoppable. And then all of a sudden that Kane lost to the feud with Orton, and then he pretty much turned babyface and was just another guy on the roster. And Cena would kind of go on to a quote, say that he had a terrible year when he really didn't, because he main evented half the pay-per-views. But I guess he had a bad year because he lost a lot, which is weird. But yeah. So overall, this show sucked. There's if you want to go back and watch this show, I would suggest you don't. The best match on this show is the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match, but that's not saying much. The matches that are on the show is a Divas title match that's just solid. But if you want, it's more of a match that's really good back then because of the Divas title matches we got. If you watching it back now, it's really not that good of a match. It's an okay match. It's not great. They have a lot of pointless segments on this show, like that John Laurinaitis segment was pointless. You know, yeah, that was pointless. The Jack Swagger, Justin Gabriel U.S. title match was pointless. The Elimination Chamber match for the World title match was bad. The only thing that made it bearable was that Daniel Bryan and Bayley pretty much were the MVPs of the match, but it was just bad. The Santino Marella stuff was just unnecessary and not funny. And there was another match on this show that I'm probably forgetting. Let me just check real quick before I forget. I'm sorry this is taking forever. Alright, but other matches on this show and segments. They had another segment on the show. No, they only had they had 6 matches on this show. Well, 5 actually, because there's a dark match that doesn't really count though. They had 5 matches on this show. That was way too less matches. They really needed more matches on the show. A lot of the show wasn't even wrestling based. It was just, I'm not saying a show needs to be wrestling all the time, but 5 matches, that's ridiculous. And then the main event was a bunch of crap. And it was the Raw match, the main event. And this became a chain of events for CM Punk's title reign. Cena got all the main event slots, and Punk never got the main event slots. And this was bad. You know, I believe Cena main evented WrestleMania, which made sense. Extreme Rules, which I was fine with because his match was more important than Punk's was. But he main evented Over the Limit, which he shouldn't have. Main evented No Way Out, which he shouldn't have. Main evented Money in the Bank, which you can argue whether or not he should have, because it's a Money in the Bank match. You normally have the match with the title in the name. Then he main evented. He actually didn't main event SummerSlam. It was it was a different match that main evented there. CM Punk main evented, but that's because Cena was in the match. He did main event Hell in a Cell, but Cena was in a non-wrestling role on that show. Main evented Survivor Series because Cena was in the match, and then obviously he went wrestle TLC because CM Punk was injured. So CM Punk got no, and then he main evented the Rumble, which he shouldn't have main evented the Rumble because it's the Royal Rumble. So CM Punk got no main event slots, and his title reign was a flat out mid card championship reign. Wasn't a bad title reign, but it just kind of was overshadowed by John Cena. So yeah. This show was just bad. The matches didn't deliver, and it just wasn't very good, and it just didn't flow very well. It was written terribly. Like I said, best match of the show was the WWE title match, but with the matches on this show, it's not really saying much. It was just bad. And the aftermath of the show, I believe. Let me take a look. So let's take a look where the wrestlers are. So CM Punk's out of the company now. He's in the UFC, which he got his ass kicked. The Miz kind of went down after this. He pretty much became a jobber. He's just reestablishing himself now. Chris Jericho's about in the same spot, but it's Chris Jericho. Kofi Kingston was kind of floundering in the mid card, but now he's kind of a big deal because Big E, and Xavier Woods went on to form the New Day. Dolph Ziggler floundered around back in the mid card. Believe eventually he won Money in the Bank that year, so that was good. Short term he benefited, but long term he was on massive losing streaks. R-Truth didn't benefit. Beth Phoenix is out of the company. Tamina Snuka is just isn't good. Daniel Bryan is now retired. Santino Marella retired. Wade Barrett's out of the company. Cody Rhodes is out of the company. Big Show's still in the company. And the Great Khali is out of the company. Jack Swagger is a jobber now. Vicky Guerrero is even out of the company. Justin Gabriel and Hornswoggle out of the company. John Cena and Kane, they're still in the company, but whatever. So like half the guys on the show are out of the company. So it's like, and this is what 2017 now. I believe it's what 5 years later. That's sad. This show sucks. Okay, that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And make sure to subscribe to my other channels, Owen the Talkinator and CM Brothers. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later. Goodbye.